Bonjour! Today we're going to learn about the second half of Passé Composé. Previously, I introduced you guys to the Passé Composé. This is the way to talk about the past, something that happened in the past. And all we did was we concentrated on the verb avoir. Well, what happens with Passé Composé is depending upon the verb that you want to talk about, if I wanted to say I talked, or if I wanted to say I ate, or if I wanted to say I went, depending upon the verb, I'm going to have to decide, am I using avoir or être? Okay, so you can't always use avoir for every single verb. There are a specific few that when talking about those specific items, when using those specific verbs, you have to use the verb être, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you pretty much the same paper I showed you before, but it's going to have être. So what happens is, number one, Passé composé has two parts. It has a helping verb or auxiliary verb, avoir or être, and then it has a past participle. Remember, the way to construct your past participle, if it's normal, if it's regular, is er becomes e with an accent, ir becomes I, and re becomes you. But there are a list of irregulars, right, that I've given you guys. And I'll give you the list of irregulars for être as well. Okay. So going down, let's just remind you really quickly. I'm going to remind you guys, these are the way you conjugate, this is the way that you conjugate avoir and être. So you have j'ai, tu as, il, elle a. Remember, this is only the first part. This is only number one. Passé composé, that means there's two parts, okay? You have helping verb, avoir ou être, either one. And then you have the past participle. So this is only the beginning part. This is only giving you the conjugations for the beginning. Okay, so let's move down. And remember, again, like I said at the beginning, all regular past participles, er becomes e with an accent aigu, ir becomes I, and re becomes you. Okay? Okay, moving along. Here are different examples, okay? This will kind of give you an idea. When I want to say that I spoke, okay, I'm going to use the verb avoir, always. I will never use the verb être with to speak when I'm talking in the past tense. I will never say je suis parlé. I will never say that, okay? It will always be j'ai parlé. So once you get it down, once you realize, okay, these are the ones we use for être and these are the ones we use for avoir, it'll make it a lot easier for you. For the most part, actually, what's great is that there's the small section of the verbs être, and once you know there's just that handful of the ones for être, everything else uses avoir. Don't even have to worry about it. So if you can get that handful of être, then for the most part, anytime you see anything that's not être, that's not one of the ones that goes with être, then what you'll do is you'll just use the verb avoir. All right, so I'm going to move on and give you guys these full examples. So what we have is you have j'ai parlé, remember er becomes e with an accent, and then here it's the same thing, e becomes e with an accent, right? But there's a difference for être. Être is a little more complicated in that it has to agree in gender and number. It has to agree in gender and number, which means if I'm a girl, which I am, obviously, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say je suis allée, and I'm going to add that second e, okay? And if I'm talking about more than one person, then I have to have an s, okay? So it's not just about conjugations for the verb être. For those specific handful of verbs that you're going to use être with, you have to make them agree in gender and number. If it's a girl, you add an e. If it's plural, you add an s. So as you can see, all of these s's are not in parentheses. That means they're not optional. You have to have them because we is plural. Y'all is plural. They is plural, right? So you have to have that. Make sure it agrees in gender and number only for être. Okay, it's really important. All right, I'm going to move down really quickly. I'm pretty sure that I've shown you guys this list, so I'm only going to show it to you for a second. If you need to pause the video and get those down again, no problem. But I'm going to go ahead and move on because our main focus today is the verb être. These are just some irregular past participles that are for, that you would use with the verb avoir, okay? You would not use any of these with the verb être. All right. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. This is the way, this is the secret, the way, the only way that I was able to memorize which ones do I use with être was by this. Okay, I'm a very visual person, so whenever I saw this, this is the Alamo. Whenever I saw the Alamo of être, that was the way I was able to remember. Because anytime I think about it, even now, sometimes I have to think about it for a second. I picture the Alamo. And when I picture the Alamo, then I can see, okay, no, that's not actually happening. Parler, no, there's no like standing there talking in the Alamo, okay? What you want to do is just make sure that you get down these specifics down really quickly. Like I said earlier, must agree in gender and number. It means an E or an S needs to be added or not added. And then to know when to use avoir, être, you use the Alamo as a guide, okay? Everything in the Alamo is what's going to be used for être. So you have mourir, all right? You have monter, climbing. You have, these guys are dead. You have venir and revenir. Okay, so make sure that you have both of those. Then there's aller and arriver. I'm actually going to give you guys a copy of the Alamo, so don't worry about this. When you come in, I'm going to actually hand you this. It'll be a picture that looks just like this. Arriver, entrer and rentrer. There's two there. Tomber, his little ice cream fell. Tomber. Partir. And then you have descendre and sortir. He's going out. Rester. Passé and naître, to be born. Okay. So, like I said, I'll give you guys a copy of that one. These are the only ones you use être with. Okay, if I wanted to say that I died, or he died, or they died, or maybe a less morbid one, like I left, or he left, or she left, or they went out, or he fell, any of those things, you're going to use the verb être with, okay? You will not use avoir to have as your helping verb. You will use être. And it's only for these. So if you have these, it makes it a lot easier, okay? If you have these down in your head, then any other verb that you use, you'll use avoir. So I have one more thing, and it's just two past participles that are irregular. Out of all of these here, there's only two that are irregular. The rest of them follow the rule ER to E, IR to I, RE to U, okay? So the only two irregular past participles I have for you are to be born and to die. It's kind of funny. Naître is going to become né, and mourir is going to become mort, okay? So make sure that you have these two irregulars written down. Like I said, I'm going to give you a copy of the Alamo. The Alamo has really saved my life in all my classes. So make sure you're ready when you come in. We'll do a lot of practice, and we're actually going to spend about 2 or 3 days practicing this because, like I said before, Passé Composé is extremely important. So you need to make sure that you understand how to do it and ask me if you have any questions. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.